And today, Jennifer is going to be talking about success principle number 51, speak with impeccability. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, staying at home and doing my part. How about
Yeah,
you?
yeah. My husband asks about almost every night or every week at the dinner table. He'll say, "So what are everyone's plans this week?" And we're like, "Oh, just staying home." We all just say that all the time. So he doesn't need to
I
ask
think I'm just
anymore.
gonna relax and stay home
Yeah,
today. So it's like, wait, it's a choice. You know, we're making a choice to do this. You
that's
know,
right. I'm
it's not
choosing to
required.
stay home. That's right.
Yes, yeah. So tell me why. So I let everybody choose the principle that they wanted to do. And so you chose number 51. You skipped almost all the way. There's 67 principles. You went almost all the way to the back. Tell me, like, why that one? Why does that one stand out to you?
This one is just I've tried to live my life by saying what I mean and meaning what I say. It's like my life motto, and it just helps. It's everything, right? It just helps with so many different things that I'm a mom, and I teach moms these principles, and so if you don't say what you mean, nobody believes you, nobody trusts you.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
say, I'm going to exercise every day this week, or every day for a month or something, and you don't do it, people can see that you're a liar. First of
Right?
all, and second of all, you don't believe yourself, and it undermines your ability to be able to accomplish these things, because you're like, you say it to yourself, then I'm going to exercise every day, and then you don't do it, and you're like, yeah, I know that's not going to happen immediately, same time.
Yeah.
You don't believe yourself,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I find it so important in creating that trust with other people and your relationships, and with yourself, in your ability to accomplish, is if you say what you mean, and then you mean what you say, meaning whatever you say, you follow through on it.
Uh,
You don't so it really takes a lot of self-control, right? You have to really
yeah.
kind of think through what you're going to say, and you know that kind of thing. So
Yeah. I'm a fast talker, and I always jokingly say, if I don't talk fast, I'll forget what I'm gonna say. So I have to like get it all out. But
yeah.
I oftentimes, I think that I'm a very authentic person, but I oftentimes will say I'm going to do things and then decide not even just, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, like even planning a party or meeting someone for lunch, and then it comes around to that day and it's like, man, I don't feel like I kind of want to stay home. I kind of don't want to go. And then I end up, so I'm learning, like, you know, how to do that. Maybe you can take us through a process or something that, you know, where we start, like, how do you do that? How do you make sure that you're meaning what you say and saying what you mean?
Well, the first thing is you have to kind of ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish here? And it starts with that self-control of just wait, think. You don't say anything until you've thought about it. And if you're in a situation where your emotions are a little bit up there, you're kind of upset maybe, or frustrated, that's when you really need that time to just say, okay, what is it I'm trying to accomplish here? What's the purpose of even saying words right now? What am I trying to accomplish? And what do I hope that will come from this?
Mhm.
What do I want to see out of this relationship or out of this situation? Or I'm trying to find my notes and see what am I willing to do moving forward, and why, and what I'm about to say going to help or hurt this situation or this relationship, even with yourself, right?
Yeah.
um, and and yeah, so those are kind of the questions, like, what am I willing to do moving forward? What do I want moving forward? And you want to try to make sure that what you say is in alignment. Like, this is the definition of integrity, right? Is what you say, what you think, what you do, what you believe, they're all in alignment. That's integrity, right? And
Yeah.
it's also in alignment with what you want most in your future, right? What you want to create in your life. So if you're saying, oh, I'm so tired, what are you creating? Your words are creating, when you say it, you're creating that.
Yeah.
So, Jack talks about, and this is a powerful example of, instead of saying, I can't lose weight, or I can't, climb to the top of that, something, if you're afraid of heights or whatever, instead of saying, I can't do that, if you change it to, I won't do that, it's really actually empowering to say, I won't lose weight. Then you're acknowledging, I'm choosing the behaviors that are keeping me where I'm at. I'm choosing this, and I could change it if I wanted to, but I'm not willing to.
Yes.
So just that little simple thing, changing from I can't to I won't, is a really powerful, empowering way to kind of be in alignment with your choices.
Yeah. I think that in the moment, I'm going to do these things, and I'll even write it down, and this is what I'm going to do. And then when I don't do it, then I can say it's I go from I can't, it's not that I can't do it, it's that I chose not to do it. And why is that happening? So then what happens then is it creates something that you realize it's man, I need to work on that. I wonder why I'm setting goals for myself where I'm saying I'm going to do things and I'm not doing that. And then you can dive a little bit deeper into maybe some limiting beliefs or something that you have, what's stopping you.
Exactly.
But so it's not necessary. So you should be impeccable with your word. And if you're not, there's a sign that there's something deeper going on underneath, that's keeping you from being there.
Exactly. But you can also, there's always that opportunity to renegotiate with yourself, right? Or renegotiate with people who you've said something to, and, things have changed, or, you're busier than you thought, or it takes more time than you thought, or something like that, where it's kind of extreme to just be like, no, I said this, I'm going to do it, I have to keep my word. You can't be really extreme with it. You can renegotiate with yourself and say, okay, it doesn't look like I'm going to have time to get this done, or just for the sake of my sanity, I really need to put this one behind me and move forward now. So it's okay to renegotiate with yourself, as long as you understand, like you said, you look at your limiting beliefs and say, okay, am I doing this? Is this a healthy move for me to renegotiate this?
Yeah.
Or is it, is it something that I need to maybe work on? Why?
Yeah.
What's stopping me? Right.
Yeah.
But if your boss says, yes, I think you absolutely deserve a raise. My husband has had this happen to him. I totally believe in you. You deserve a raise. You deserve a promotion. And then ask for that. And he doesn't give it to him. He refuses to give him the promotion. So do you believe that person anymore? Right? It's just it's kind of a matter of really just thinking before you speak. Right?
Yeah.
I know Jack Canfield says that he just on his calendar, he has a huge calendar, and he just writes a big NO on the whole calendar in a highlighter, just to remind himself to think first before he just says, yes, I can do that. Yes, I'll be there. Yes, I'll, speak there or whatever. So to really kind of think through things before you say it. And by the way, children, I talk to moms, children are absolutely socially aware, they're astute, and you may not realize how much, but they know if they can trust you or not. And when they're kids, they believe everything you say. And so it's really important to try to say words that build people up, especially kids, because they believe what you say. And also, it kind of works if you're kind of a supervisor or a boss of people. It's kind of the same way. They really respect what you say, and what you say has power. You really want to, for children for example, you don't want to say you're such a good boy or such a good girl. If they do their chores or something, then they're saying, okay, I'm good because I do my chores. Then if they don't do their chores, they think they're bad. Right? So what you want to say is, I really love your work ethic, or, wow, that's such hard work. I really love the hard work you're putting in, or see what your hard work is bringing. This is really good stuff, or something like that, or I love your creativity. I love your, I love your, just something specific. I really love your work
Yeah.
ethic. I really love your, the way you think about things. You really understand those concepts. You want to be specific with what you're saying so
Hmm.
that people understand what it is they're doing right and they can replicate it again.
Right. Hmm.
So,
We do something in my accountability partner business with when we have somebody and they're setting goals, we have them like chunk it down. Like, so if someone says, okay, we'll just use losing weight for our conversation. But for me to lose weight, I need to be in bed by 10. I need to be up by 6. I need to exercise for 30 minutes. I need to drink 8 glasses of water. And they come up with their 5 things a day that they're going to do. And one of the first things I do is I ask them, okay, what time are you getting up now? If you're going to start being up at 6. And like this one guy's like, oh, like 11:30. He's a bartender. And I'm like, well, you're not going to go from 11:30 at night to being up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Let's do like, how about 10:45 and then 10:30 and then 10:15, like in 15-minute increments so you can get used to it. Or if I am only drinking coffee and Diet Coke every day, I'm not going to all of a sudden start drinking 8 glasses of water. Try one.
true.
And it's not bargaining with yourself. It's setting realistic goals. Like, so when you say you're going to do something, it's like, okay, I'm going to make a change to my behavior so that I can get to a healthy body weight. In a perfect world, what does that look like? And then realistically say, this is what I can do. And then that will be basically you being impeccable with your word. Is just like, this is something that I can do and something I can control and work towards, rather than going, like you said, from extreme, from here to here. That might be something that's like not controllable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so important
Yeah.
because that helps you build up confidence in yourself. And I keep my word to myself.
Hmm.
Like thousands of years ago, people would make an oath and they would never break it. Like murderers would be like, I know I'm going to break that, so I'm not even going to make the oath.
Yeah.
And murderers, like, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't break their word,
Yeah.
like they're like, I won't promise that because I know I won't follow through with it. So
Yeah.
sometimes when you're making a commitment like that, if you're going to follow through, like you're like, I mean,
Uh-huh.
Jack gives the example of people in his live training where he says no drinking while you're here for this week, so that you're thinking clearly, you're not hungover, you don't have a headache.
Yeah.
So they make the commitment and then they go up to their hotel room and drink. And
Uh-huh.
and he's like, well, did you know you were going to break that commitment when you made it? And he's like, well, I wasn't sure. But well, where'd you get the alcohol? He's like, well, I brought it with me. I packed it and I brought it with me. And
Uh-huh.
so he was kind of planning in his mind, like, and sometimes you can kind of feel that if you pay attention, like when you say something or when you commit to something, you're like, yep, that's never going to happen. Then just don't say it. If you
Yeah.
absolutely know this is not going to happen, just
Mhm.
don't do it. Right? Then,
Yeah.
it's just better for everyone if you just zip it, right?
Zip it. Zip
Yep.
it. Speaking of going back to kids, this was something that I remember my sister. This used to drive me nuts. Her son would say, "Mom, can I have some chips?" And she'd say no. And then he'd say, "Can I have some chips?" And she'd say no. And she just kept saying no, no, no. And then he went and climbed up in the cupboard and got the chips out and was sitting in there eating the chips. And she just like, whatever, and like walks away. And so basically she was teaching him that, she's going to say no, but she doesn't mean what she's saying.
Right.
There's
Right.
no consequences. She doesn't stick to it. So there's a lot of reasons to be impeccable with your word.
Absolutely, especially in your home. Um, as a child, I would hear a lot, I'm going to beat you to a pulp. And then I like learned what pulp meant. And I was like, I was like shocked and like, why would they say that? And why, like, and when it's spoken in passion, like when you're really upset, all your emotions are behind it. It's hard you can't take that back, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
even if somebody comes and, and I just thought, well, even I know that's not what she means, but what if that's what she wants? I mean, as a
Yeah.
child, that's kind of what you think. So,
Yeah.
um, so you have to kind of think of those things like, what do I want them to know about this situation, and I had a
Mhm.
friend, so that was kind of why this is so important to me. That was the
Yeah.
moment I decided I'm only going to say what I mean, and I'm going to mean what I say. So I would give my kids, okay, I'm going to give you to the count of 3, and if you haven't stopped doing that, this action is going to happen, right? I'll take away the phone or whatever. And I would go and do it, right? So my kids would go play with a friend, and she called me up and she's like, what did you do? Because I started counting to 3, and she didn't even say anything was going to happen. Some parents are like 1, 2, and they expect their kids to just immediately obey because they count to 3, but you have to say, here's what I expect from you. I want this behavior to stop. Here's what's going to happen if it doesn't stop when I get to 3. You have to be clear with your
Yeah.
expectations. So my son was playing over at her house, and she's like 1, 2, and my son stopped the behavior, and she said, what are you doing? And I'm like, here's what it is. Are you taking notes? Are you paying attention? Here's what it is. I do what I say I'm going to do. you know
Uh-huh.
when I get to 3, I go take away the phone if that's what I've said. I like, so that they believe me. They know
Yeah.
I better do this, or else that's what's going to happen. And they know that will happen,
Yeah.
And by the way, in your home is the safest place to learn things like this,
Yeah.
The lessons outside your home, they're a lot harder, they're a lot bigger. So this is the safest
Right.
place to learn these lessons, right? So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Definitely a safe place to learn. I think that I have been just in general in my life pretty impeccable with my word, and I learned from people around me, like when they weren't consistent, when they would say they were going to do something and they didn't do it, that I didn't want to be that way. But I don't think that I was as disciplined about being impeccable with my word until even the last, I mean, probably last 6 months. I've had probably the biggest growth with being impeccable with my word in the moment. So when you get frustrated with something or you're upset with something, then I have a millennial daughter, and so she's absolutely amazing. I love her with all of my heart. However, there are some very textbook millennial behaviors that I see that would trigger me, like that have happened, and I would just be like, if like I don't want to. I would think thoughts and say things that I did not mean because I was mad. And now in the last few months, it's just like I don't say that. I like I'm slowing down, I'm listening to what she's saying, and I'm thinking, in her mind, her perception, this is what she sees. That's interesting. I wonder how I can change this situation or get my point across without it turning into a huge thing and me saying things that I don't mean, or her saying things. And how do we keep from hurting each other? Because
Right.
she's 30, and I have a 6-year-old grandson, and we all live together.
Mhm.
So I have noticed I wouldn't even say the last 6 months, I would say since January, really, because up until then I was like, I'll just go get my own house and I don't care where you live and I don't blah, 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 whatever. I would think these things in my head every time we would have an argument.
Right.
And so now it's like, if I just stop and think and try to see her side, and then I notice that I am saying things that I mean, and I'm meaning what I say, which I think that. So when you said, I want to talk about this principle, I was like, oh, how cool. I wonder like, what, like where the conversation was going to go.
Right. Right. Well, first of all, you do not look anywhere near old enough to have a 30-year-old daughter. So
Oh,
just know
thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Um, but you really have to, sometimes you have to just say, in order to speak with dignity and respect, I'm going to need to step away until I can think more clearly. So
Yeah.
sometimes you might have to do something like that. Sometimes you need to like I thought of something when you're talking. I can't remember now.
That's
um,
okay. Maybe it'll pop back up. I remember saying to my daughter last year, I learned how to do the fountain and put the water between us, so that I was like kind of blocking energy. But I said to her, I said, if I ever turn around and walk away from you in the middle of a thing, I go, please let me go, because I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for you, because I don't want to say something and that I don't mean in the moment. And so I started practicing this really last year, is when I really started like stop reacting. Stop
right,
reacting, because there's so many triggers that you just build up over time.
right. And that's so key. Like that, and that's in so many principles, right? You stop reacting. Like to be reactive, you take your power back when you are proactive instead of reactive. When you're reactive, the world is just acting upon you like you're an object, right? But when
Yeah.
you're proactive, you're the one taking action. You're the one choosing. You're the one creating your future, right? In your life, how you want it. So
Yeah.
I saw this cartoon, a little comic of a mom and daughter, kind of a teenage talking together, and the mom's thinking, I'm really upset, but I don't want her to know. And the daughter's thinking, I'm not really upset, but I don't want her to know. And I showed it to my daughter, and she was like, that's exactly where I was at. I wasn't really upset. I just didn't want you to know that. So she's acting really upset, but she doesn't want me
Uh-huh.
to, she's not actually upset. And I'm acting really calm, but I'm really upset, you know?
Uh-huh.
So she's like, yeah, that's totally me. So
That's so
sometimes
funny.
it's like that, but that self-control is really key. So, but you said, that you get triggered. And this is something that I think is really important, because your words have power and they can really affect people around you. So that's part of it, is you need to be careful with your words and intentional about what you say. But the other half
Mhm.
of it is, once you're an adult, like absolutely with kids, they believe everything you say. You have to be careful what you say, right? With
Mhm.
adults, yes, you can hurt adults, but it's your choice if you let that person hurt you, right?
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
can also, like, basically what you think about me is none of my business, you
Yeah.
know? So you have to choose, if other people are using their words in a destructive way, you have to choose to not let that bother you. You have to,
Mhm.
you have to kind of get to that point where you're like, they already don't like me when I say this, so I might as well just keep being myself, right? It's
Right.
kind of a great filter for people in your life. If you are just, you're being real, you're being yourself, you're doing what you need to do, it filters
Mhm.
the right people in and the wrong people out. And so
Uh-huh.
yeah, so you kind of have to choose whether you let others' words affect you or not, but
Yeah.
you should still, like, successful people are masters of their mouth, right? They know if they dominate their words, or else their words will dominate them, you know
Mhm.
and there's
Mhm.
nothing like, if you see somebody, rageaholic, like,
Yeah.
they feel powerless, and they are just trying to exert some form of control or power over somebody, and
Mhm.
they really have
Mhm.
none, like,
Yeah.
and they don't look like they're very smart, or, like, I mean, how do you want to show up in the world? How do you want to be? How do you want others to see you? Like, successful people use their words to create things, and to build people up, and to create trust. And I mean, however you treat people is usually how they'll, like, what you expect of them is usually what they'll give you.
You're right. Yeah.
So, and
That's awesome. This has been awesome. I want to give you an opportunity to touch on anything else that you may have had in your notes that you wanted to say
I have
about being impeccable with your word.
I have one quote that I wrote down, directly from the Success Principles, that where Jack was talking about, if people are saying something that's not true.
Mhm.
I just want to read what he said, because it's really powerful. He said,
Okay.
in reality, lying is the product of low self-esteem. the belief that you and your abilities are somehow not enough to get what you want. It is also based on the false belief that you can't handle the consequences of people knowing the truth about you, which is simply another way of saying, I am not enough. So I love that. And so, really think about that. You try to always say what's true, what's real, what's in alignment with what you believe, what you want in the future, what you know, and how you act. They're all in alignment. And that you're trying to, you're creating, it helps your own self-esteem as well, from what I just read, that you're enough. This is me. This is how, here you go. Like I said, it's a great filter. So, yeah, I feel like it's really important. And, there's one example of a woman who just couldn't lose the weight. And she, so her friend said to her, okay, repeat after me. I have an affirmation for you. Repeat after me. I love being fat. And she's like, wait, what? She's like, think about it. All the things that you have to do that go against nature, that go against your what your body wants. You have to do all those things and keep doing them, and have all the social, shame or whatever that goes with it. Like, look at your choices. Look at where your life is, and you can see that you've created that by what you've said, what you've done, what you believe, like, so yeah, having it all be in alignment. Obviously nobody's perfect at it. I'm certainly not, but you work on it every day. You get better and better, and you just try to ask yourself, what do I want from this? How much do I value the person that I'm talking to, and how much do I want them to know that, and what do I hope to get in the future? Usually people think they speak without thinking. So you have to think, what do I really want? What do I deeply want in my future? And what are the things I need to reverse engineer to get there, right now. So, and it starts with what you think and what you say,
Yeah. And to yourself, I mean, really, if you're struggling with someone, start being impeccable with your word to yourself.
Absolutely.
And then your children, and then those closest to you, and then it just like spread. It's like, you don't have to be perfect to start, but you have to start to be perfect. So just start paying attention to the things that you're saying, and maybe, slow down before you make too many promises to people that you can't keep, including yourself.
Absolutely.
So awesome. Thank you so much for being on today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with the group. I'm super excited. You guys, if you have any comments that you want to share, or you want to reach out to Jennifer, just click on her name. It's like right here on Facebook. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to chat with you. And I loved it. Thank you.
Yay. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.